And it's nice to see you all. I've been paying attention for many years to Brit-Am's message, reading Hebrew Nations. And this is somewhat of a breakthrough to have everybody face to face, which is wonderful. Okay. I try to be encouraging, and maybe you don't even need it, but I'd like to say a word of encouragement, at least about your size and scope, or our size and scope. It amazes me daily that God keeps his promise that the message of our identity has been concealed perfectly, thoroughly. Even when talking to like-minded people that have known me or I've known my whole life and studied the Bible alongside, still concealed. Mm-hmm. What a powerful and mighty God that can conceal something so obvious to all of us, which is fantastic. Then to realize that the seven of us, passive observers of something so fantastic, that's very humbling. And I do tell people that when I get so excited about discoveries that I make from the Bible or discoveries about our historical origins of the Israelite people, that things must be different now, because after all, a hillbilly insurance agent, work from home dad in the northwestern corner of a forgotten backwater in North America is tuned into this. It's amazing times. So yeah. Things are getting better every day. So I want to encourage all the members of Brit-Am and our leadership especially. It's not an uphill battle to spread the information. It's supposed to be this way. It's great.
Thank you.
I do believe that there will be a breakthrough when God does choose to stand up his Messiah. I think the lost 10 tribes will realize they've been backing the wrong horse.
You should know that our policy is not to criticize Christianity and try not to bring up theological differences between us, because that's not our task. Our task is to spread the message concerning the lost 10 tribes, and everything else to leave that for someone else, for another time, for other people.
Or be quiet.
Well, no, you can't. We want people to talk. On the other hand, we want people to talk. We want people to say things. And everyone wants to hear what you want to say. Just certain things not here.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm, as you possibly gathered from my accent, I'm Scottish. I live in Aberdeen, near Aberdeen in Scotland. I've been following Yair's stuff for some years. In fact, I met with Yair about 7 or 8 years ago in Jerusalem. We had a good chat about things, and then we lost touch a little bit, probably because of email screw-ups, but then I got back in touch again. I'm not Jewish. I'm not from the tribe of Judah, but I'm a Christian. I'm not trying to preach to anybody, but I have friends who believe very much the same as I do about the lost 10 tribes. The thing I find strange in the evangelical Christian community, nobody wants to know about it. It's one of these things. They talk about the situation currently in America, which to my mind, based in scripture, has got all the hallmarks of Manasseh, but none of them seem to want to know about that, which I find very, very, very strange and rather interesting, but sad. So that's who I am, and nice to see you all.
Okay, very nice. Wait a minute. So maybe Sylvia, want to say something?
I'm just really glad to be here, and I know small beginnings are just that, and it will grow. I've known about the tribes since about 2010, when I somehow came across your book, The Tribes, through Charlene Mathe in a conversation on Facebook, and I started reading your works and made a timeline of the chosen people right starting from Adam and Eve to beyond today, trying to sort it all out. And last night I had guests over. I always have a crowd of people over on Sunday nights for dinner and conversation. And just so happened I had 2 Jews and 3 Jews. One had just recently converted. And I tried to tell them a little bit about Ezekiel 37, and they were not really understanding, but I know that happens, and I understand how Mark, what he was saying about people just not getting it, and that's okay. You can just say, read the chapter and see what you think, and there it is, the 2 sticks joining together. And I actually did that at the dinner table and put a fork and a knife together. And
Where are you, Sylvia?
Pardon me?
Where are you?
I'm north of Detroit, Michigan. Actually, one of my Jewish friends said, are you from the tribe of Levi because you like to draw and you like to teach and you like to sing? So I don't know if the Levites did that, but
Which tribe was that? Which tribe did he say?
Levi. Tribe? Yeah, because
Levi.
I like to draw, and I can't stop teaching. I'm a teacher, and my father was Welsh and my grandfather, and they were great singers. So that could be. But I don't think it matters as much as knowing that you belong to Yehovah.
Absolutely.
And you try to keep his covenant, try to return to the first commandment, really. There's only one God.
Okay, I'll just say something very quickly, very short. I'll give a very short word. Then Steve will say something. We'll see what's going on, who's coming in, and so on. Just say something. You probably all heard it before, but I just have this. This is from the recent readings in the synagogue. As you know, in the Jewish synagogue, every week they read out a portion of the Torah, of the 5 books of Moses. So at the end of the year, you've gone right through the Torah. So it's customary to people link up with what they read in the synagogue on Shabbat to what's going on during the week. So this is what we saw recently. We saw that Abraham was promised by God Almighty that he would be blessed, that God would make him a great and mighty nation, and he would be a great and mighty nation, extremely populous, extremely numerous. And that in him would all the peoples of the earth be blessed. Okay, in him would all the peoples of the earth be blessed. And if you put the verses together, you see he was to become a great and mighty nation in order that all the peoples of the earth should be blessed through him. He had he was also commanded to keep the commandments and do them. Shortly after that, the test, what is called the Akedah, the binding, when he was bound, when Abraham took his son Isaac and was about to, and was commanded to offer him up as a sacrifice, and he bound him and tied him to the altar. And at the last minute, the angel came down and stopped him from going ahead. And he had passed the test, and because he had passed the test, God said to him, "Bini Shabbati, in myself have I sworn," says the Almighty. The Almighty says, "In myself have I sworn that you will be blessed," and he goes back and repeats the blessings. But the difference is now that they are unconditional. In other words, the blessings had to be fulfilled in some way or other unconditionally. Whether he keeps the commandments or not, something about the commandments had to be fulfilled through him. And then shortly after that, we have the story of Rebecca. When Elazar, the servant of Abraham, was sent to Padan Aram, sent to the area which is now east of Syria, to bring a wife, and he meets Rebecca, who waters his camels and so on. And then Elazar brings Rebecca back, and she marries Isaac. But when Rebecca leaves her family, bless her that she might be Alpha Revava should come from her. So this is usually translated to be thousands, hundreds of Alpha, tens of thousands, or thousands of 10,000s. But one great commentator, the Hatem Sofer, who lived in the 1800s, who was one of the great, who was considered in his age, he was the greatest rabbinical authority ever lived. He said it means hundreds of millions, or thousands of millions even, and he explained why. So that means if we agree with that, we have to find a people who are very, very populous, who will fulfill the task that the lost 10 tribes had to place upon themselves. Another authority, David Valley, Rabbi Moshe David Valley, and who lived in also in the 1700s in Italy, northern Italy, and he was a teacher. He was the teacher of the Ramchal, of important rabbis, and he wrote a commentary on the Bible. And when he describes that when the lost 10 tribes being blessed, the lost 10 tribes were exiled in order to repair the world, in order to reform the world, and only when they fulfill that task of theirs will they be able to return. In other words, the lost 10 tribes have a task to fulfill, and that is not connected with the religion. It's not connected with what they believe. They have a task to fulfill, to upgrade humanity, to reform humanity, and when that task is fulfilled, then the other aspects of returning to the God Almighty and the final redemption will come into place. So that is what we thought was of interest, was of importance. And that is what we're about. That's what this Brit-Am believes in. That is what, as we talk, we repeat this message quite often because it's important, and people should be aware of it, internalize it, and that is what we have.
That particular passage strikes me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to just respond to that passage that
Yes.
Rebecca's relatives, before any additional prophecy, and maybe they weren't even familiar with any of the prophecies made to Abraham, they immediately associated greatness with Abraham. That was their immediate reaction. This marriage to Isaac is instantaneous. Right. That's their only reaction. They knew.
Yeah. The Almighty put some type of awareness in their hearts to know what they were what they were about to do.
Yes.
It wasn't, people don't usually say those things. People don't say those kinds of things. They say inspired too. In other words, sometimes ordinary people can be inspired. Other people see things which are of importance. Rabbi Feld is here. You all know Rabbi Feld. Just a second. Oh, yeah.
That's great. I like that picture. Yes.
A little bit better. And it's okay. No.
Hey, guys.
Hi, Rabbi Feld.
Good evening.
Can you hear him okay?
Yes.
I didn't speak yet.
Yes.
It's raining outside. You guys prayed and we got rain. We appreciate that. Rain is very important. Without rain, you can't have any whiskey or wine or vodka. It's very, very crucial to us.
Wait a minute, Steve.
Yes.
Can you say something?
Shalom. Shalom, Rabbi Feld. Welcome to a gathering.
Well, thank you. It's nice to be welcome some places. Places they tell you you can go.
So, did everybody say what they needed to say before I speak?
How about David and John?
Yes, please.
You got something to say, or you want a couple of minutes?
I'm happy to wait. Why? We have a bus to catch or something, guys? You have a plane to catch?
Okay,
Not yet.
Go ahead.
I don't know.
Feel at home. Take your shoes off.
David, could you tell us more about your background from England? What movement your family was part of?
Yes, it was initially what was called the Radio Church of God, which then became renamed Worldwide Church of God. My mother and my grandmother, both serious Bible students. I mean, my brother and I were both circumcised on the 8th day. So it's a sort of a mixture, I suppose you might say. But I grew up in that environment, and I also studied it, went to a college where we studied this stuff. And here I am. When I came across this website, I was quite astounded, frankly, that such knowledge was floating around amongst the Jewish community. And it's very nice. of course. Very interesting. So what else can I tell you? That's my background. It was Sabbatarian, frankly, Sabbatarian.
Wow.
And that's where I'm at.
And I want to cover a few questions, some W questions. I used to be a teacher in grammar school and learned to tell the students who, what, why, what, and when, if they write anything, if I speak about anything, to answer those questions. So I'll start out with who. And so who's speaking to us today? Well, Yair Davidiy spoke to us today, and what I want to say about him is that he is an extraordinary person. Why is he extraordinary? And not just because he's an Orthodox person who knows about this, which is an incredible rarity in the world, because most Orthodox Jews don't know anything about this. No offense, but it just happens to be. And I see Yair, who has been called. It's a calling. It's a divine calling to look into the mystery, so to speak, of the lost 10 tribes as they're known in the world, and to speak about it, to research that, to study that, to learn about it, and not only that, but to talk to them. He's a pioneer, and he started this a long, long, long time ago. It is a calling by the Almighty. And I'm not going to say he's also Orthodox. So why is he Orthodox? Because in my view, the Orthodox are in any religion or any kind of approach to anything are those who are real purists and those who know something or do something in a very pure way, in a very uncontaminated way. So the message that Yair puts out is uncontaminated with other matters relating to the 10 tribes. I have a lot of books. The Almighty has called me way back in the mid-60s. And I probably have about 150 books about the 10 tribes written by other people. And some are better than others. But there's one flaw in all of them, is that it's contaminated with other material. It's not really Orthodox. They're useful, mind you, showing us that the Almighty has called a number of people in our age to look into this. So I'll be, Yair is speaking from an Orthodox point of view, as a Jew, Orthodox Jew, and also in a very uncontaminated way. I want to underscore that. So my little talk will be from a 10 tribes view, because I'm like all of you over here, other than Yair, who have been called by the Almighty to know about this, to find out what this calling is about, who the 10 tribes are. And as a search by everybody, where do I belong? Where do I belong? And the Almighty says that we have been wandering for a long time, as Yair teaches, and we will be in the wilderness, and he will talk to us in the wilderness. Now, my name is Steve Mathe. It's a very unusual name. It means Matthew in Hungarian. I was born in Hungary, and I left that right after the revolution in 56, December of 56. I just turned 10 years old, and my mother escaped. We come back to that word again, escaped from Hungary, from the communist oppression. And I want to tell you, I do have a name, another name, and it's Shemaiah Nachman ben Avraham. I took a Hebrew name. It actually was given to me by somebody else, Shemaiah. And I took that because it has a meaning. It means one who hears God, or the imperative, hear God. It's so important for us to hear God. And every single one of us who are here, we have heard God in our hearts and has awakened us as to who we are. And I've taken that name also in a formal way among friends because in Isaiah 44:4, there's a prophecy that the returnees of the 10 tribes, they will take on names after Isaac and after Israel, and the ancient Hebrew names. They will take up these Hebrew names to identify as Hebrews themselves. So here I am identifying as a returnee from the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And in a sense, I, like all of you here, are representatives of the lost sheep of Israel, whom the Almighty has awakened from the valley of dry bones. Now, in a sense, we are representing as early returnees. Early. We are like ambassadors. We are like representatives of the millions, I say millions of the 10 tribes who will come after us. As somebody mentioned here, was it John who mentioned a Scottish background? I had my DNA research really, really deeply and found out that my closest match is in Scotland. And in my walk here, I observed that a lot of us who have been called early by the Almighty have some sort of Scottish background. And believe it or not, I happen to marry a Douglas. How Scottish can you get? A Douglas last, a great Douglas. Those of you know about Scots. There's a black Douglas and a great Douglas.
From Hungary, so son, so be having a Scottish relatives was not expected. Right, Steve?
Yes.
Everyone is aware of that.
So I ended up right here. Married to a Scottish lassie, and talking to you as a representative of the 10 tribes whom the Almighty has driven, and to arrive more in the West, like Hosea says, that they shall come from the West. So here I am coming from the West, the very, very West. Now, this is all done by God's grace. And a lot of you have mentioned that you were talking to others and they just cannot understand this. There's a reason for that. It's because this is not an ordinary calling that we have. It's a calling to the dead. The Almighty said that if we leave the covenant, if an individual, in the book of Deuteronomy, I think 28, it says, if you leave this covenant, whether it's an individual, a family, or a clan, or a tribe, it says all the curses aforementioned will come upon you, and it will erase your name. Your name will be erased, and you will be lost as an Israelite. And that's exactly happened to us. And we are left to covenant. We went after other gods. And the Almighty says, that's what you want. I guess that's what you're going to be. He hardened our hearts, just like hardened Pharaoh's heart. And he hardened our hearts. And he said that you will have to leave this land. He had us cast out of the land of the covenant. Covenant was brought up before. And you will not come back till the end of days. Now, how do we know that? We know that because, as most of you have read it, in Genesis 49, in Genesis, in the beginning of everything that we need to know about the 10 tribes start right there in Genesis 49, where Jacob, our father, on his deathbed, gathers, tells his sons to come around, assemble yourselves, and because he has something to tell us, and he says, gather yourselves together. He uses a different word than beforehand, and he says, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen to you. He says, something is going to happen to you. And he's not repeating himself when he says, gather yourself together. He says hikaftu there, which is different from the first word, and where it just means assemble boys, now come around. I'm going to tell you on my deathbed what's going to happen to you. He said that the latter days will happen to you. And at that time, you're going to have to gather yourselves together. That is the last command. That's the command. That is the imperative saying from our Father. Gather yourselves together in the latter days. And a lot of books now appear and material on the internet about the latter days. The people know, a lot of people know we got to be in the latter days, but and they give a lot of signs, but there's one sign they're not giving. They may give 1948, when the Jews came back and politically established a state in the land again. They bring that up as a sign of the latter days. But they never, ever, never, ever, ever, never bring up the sign that the latter days will be known when the 10 tribes will return. And here Jacob tells us that the latter days will have this incredible sign of the 10 tribes returning to him. And that's exactly what's happening. And why can't this be understood by others? And why don't they know about it? The reason for that is because in Deuteronomy, I mentioned before, 28, where it mentioned if you leave this covenant, the instruction, this Torah, and you leave me, and you leave the land of the covenant, I will cast you out. And the curses in other places, the curses aforementioned, mentioned that the penalty for idolatry was death. And sure enough, the Assyrians came, and after 200 years of grace, the Almighty gave them 200 years for us to get together. The Assyrians came, and under 3-4 kings, we were taken out of the land into slavery in Assyria.
Okay.
Many died at the time. And the reason others can understand it, because the Almighty has resurrected us from the valley of dry bones, Ezekiel 37. And nobody can resurrect us except the Almighty. And that's why people cannot understand it, because they have not heard the divine voice in their souls to understand it. We have heard the divine voice to come alive again from spiritual death. So I've given up in trying to talk people into this, because it's not possible to talk people into this, because we cannot resurrect anybody. We cannot give them the spiritual ears to hear this message. So I resigned myself. I gave that one up. And now I'm completely given to gather those whom the Almighty has already resurrected from the valley of dry bones, who has given ears to hear it and eyes to see it. We are told in Isaiah 42, speaking to the 10 tribes, it tells them, you have no ears to hear it and no eyes to see it. You think you know so much? Well, you don't. And Hosea tells us, above all, I wish that you have mercy, and like I do, the Almighty says. You understand what that mercy is, that chesed. And I'm sure all of you have studied that. But right after that, he says, I wish above all that you gain knowledge of the Almighty, of God. And that's why we're here for. And that's what I'm resigned to do, and just give up on trying to evangelize, quote, others into this. We are not to call others. We are to raise a banner, mind you. We'll talk about that some other time, not now. The banner of where the road is on which we need to